everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Diving In Deep. I'm Sara Evans. This week, I am so honored to sit down with country music legend Tracy Lawrence. His music has had a legacy that's influenced a whole generation of artists. With a career spanning over 3 decades, you'll probably recognize some of his songs such as Time Marches On and Alibis, Paint Me a Birmingham, You Find Out Where Your Friends Are, and many, many more. I absolutely loved this conversation. It was so wonderful to sit and talk with Tracy and get to know more about him and about his personal life. And we found out that we actually have so much in common. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Be sure to download it and leave us a great review. Okay. Oh my God. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I have not seen you that much over the years.
We've done a handful of shows over the years, but not a lot.
Not a lot. And I've never been able to properly just tell you what a huge fan I am.
Thank you.
And especially, like, not just of your songs, but I freaking love your voice. And I want to find out, like, how did that happen? Did you always know? Because I've never known anything else but singing. Like, did that start? Because your voice sounds like you just started from age 3 or whatever and have always done it.
It's the only thing that's ever been a constant in my life, as far back as I can remember. I remember, like, some of my earliest memories, I mean, like being 3 years old, as far back as I have some really vague memories of my father and just a couple of things, but the main primary memories I have were like the Glenn Campbell Big Time Variety Show when I was 3 or 4 years old. I remember singing Kenny Rogers songs. I remember all those early things. So my influences go all the way back to early traditional country music.
Yep.
And singing in the church with my grandmother. So those are the foundations. And I've told this story a few times, but my mother married my biological father twice. So I've got an older brother and an older sister, and then they got divorced, and then they got back together, and my mother got pregnant with me, and they got remarried. So when my mother was carrying me, she was a huge Loretta Lynn fan, and if I would have been born a girl, my name was going to be Loretta Lynn.
Oh.
And I remember sharing
Loretta Lynn Lawrence. And I love sharing that story with Loretta when I met her on the Opry for the first time, because I thought that was such a cool thing. So I was kind of, I feel like I was born for this. This is what I was supposed to do my entire life. That's what I mean by, you can just tell that some people were born for it and have been doing it since birth, like you, because your voice is just like you're the epitome of the country singer voice. And then you can also tell when people are just singers and like, well, I started, whatever. Also, I've heard so many people say on the podcast that they started singing in church, but what do you mean by that? Because like when I was growing up, our church, we just sang out of the hymnals. So is that what you're talking about?
I was kind of torn between two places. So my stepdad, who raised me, I went to school from kindergarten through 12th grade in the same place in Southwest Arkansas.
Okay.
And so we were Methodists. So I grew up in the Methodist church, which is like very similar to Catholicism. I mean, very structured as far as the hymns that we sang, the things that we did for communion. I mean, it is very structured. But my grandmother was Pentecostal.
Okay.
So we had drums and a band and all those kind of things. So I would spend most of my summers and all my school breaks and things with my grandparents in East Texas. So I got a little bit of both sides of it. So I grew up singing in church, but I never really cared for gospel music. I like more soulful music.
Right.
But it was not something that was very comfortable for me to sing. But then when I was 11 or 12 years old, I discovered Merle Haggard, and George Strait had just come out. And so that was a much more comfortable key and range for my voice as I started to develop as a singer and playing guitar and things. So, but I did have a lot of those gospel influences. I taught myself how to play guitar from the back of a church camp songbook, but it was a little bit more progressive. So it had John Denver stuff, and it had some Bellamy Brothers stuff. So there were things that were more positive message songs, and it had a little chord chart for all the songs. So that's really how I learned to play guitar.
That's unbelievable. Yeah. So you're talking about like, but it wasn't like a mega church. It was just a Pentecostal church, but you guys would have a band, like just a worship band.
Oh, I saw people speaking in tongues and all that stuff when I was growing up, laying hands and all that. I experienced all of that growing up.
Wait,
and
do
my
you
wife
believe
and I
in
go
speaking in tongues?
You know, I know that it's true, but at a very young age, I saw people doing it, and I had a lot of questions as a child because I saw it seemed like it was always the same people saying the same thing with the same interpretation from the same person, and I kind of I don't know about it, but and my wife and I we still go to a non-denominational church now, but it's I don't know. I don't want to say I disbelieve. I just haven't seen enough to make me go, yeah, I believe in that 100%.
I've never seen it, but I also know what the Bible says, like someone has to be able to interpret it. And probably not the same person.
It shouldn't be the same person every time, and it shouldn't sound exactly the same. It always sounded the same to me.
Yes,
but exactly. But I still grew up with that foundation, and I think it's kind of helped me get through a lot of tough spots in life because I had that spiritual foundation, and I still have strong belief.
Same. Yeah. I mean, I got saved when I was 21, but I grew up going to church. So I'm from Missouri. And a town of 1,200 people, and then we were farmers. That's what we did for our income, everything. And so we were way out in the country from a town of 1,200 people. Yeah. So, from
about the same size as mine. How big of a class did you graduate from?
35 kids.
We had 49.
Oh my God!
And it was the largest class that ever came through the school.
Wow.
Yeah, it was small. I mean, I could travel when I started driving around 3 or 4 counties, barely crossing a paved highway. I do the gravel roads everywhere, and we were farming too. My dad was the vice president of the little bank there in town, but we grew up right on the Red River Delta, so a lot of farmland, a lot of soybeans and rice and cotton and all that stuff. That was pretty much our foundation.
We raised soybeans, corn, wheat, and then my parents divorced, and my mother married a tobacco farmer. Yeah. When I was 14, so then we started raising tobacco, and there's not a lot of places in Missouri that raises tobacco, but our area, the government subsidizes it.
Yes.
Subsidizes it. Is that how you say that
Subsidize.
word? Yeah.
Subsidize.
And so you would have, if you would own property that had tobacco poundage, and you could raise a certain amount. Whatever.
And also, so when I bought my property here in Middle Tennessee years ago, it was actually a functioning tobacco farm years before I bought it. So I still got a tobacco allotment check because I didn't grow it. So I still got paid by the government for a tobacco farm for years and years and years. That's done now. We're just in the process of being annexed into the city. So all that stuff's kind of changing around here.
Right.
You got to get further and further out from Nashville these days. But,
you do. We just bought a little farm in Columbia.
Did you really? That's beautiful country down there.
It's beautiful.
And the Duck River runs through Columbia. I've kayaked on that river a whole lot.
Yeah, that's the road we take to get to our farm.
And Blair Garner has, I don't know if he sold it, but he had the church that he renovated down there, put several $1 million into it, had a little venue there and a television studio.
Sold.
And all that. Did they finally sell it off?
Because the only reason I know is so weird is my brother and sister-in-law are real estate agents, and they use them. And
there's some great antique stores down there.
The town of Columbia is so cute. I just bought an antique green ashtray at one of those stores. But it's not like busy like Franklin. It's still very calm and quiet. I mean, that's probably not going to last long.
Well, it seems like everything's kind of as the population grows, but Tennessee has a lot of those quaint little towns, and Missouri does too, where you have the little town square with the courthouse, or the central area around town, and everything just kind of built up. It's picture
perfect.
It really is.
It's like from a movie.
I love Tennessee so much. I just think the topography here, growing up in farm country where everything is real flat, moving to Tennessee was awesome for me because the rolling hills and the trees and the rivers and all that. I love all of it here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, where I'm from in Missouri happens to be hilly, and that kind of stuff. It's not the flat like Kansas. So,
have you been to the top of the rock? That's the guy that built that
in Branson
Bass Pro Shop, the one that's outside. That place is phenomenal.
It's amazing. We celebrated my mom's 70th birthday. We have so much in common. Oh my God, at that place,
it's freaking gorgeous.
It's amazing.
Last time we were there, a few years ago, I got to play in a golf tournament there, and Tiger Woods was just building his first designed public golf course. So they had that. They had Branson National. They've got a huge golf course right there at top of the rock, and they had a magnificent par 3. But the last time we were there, we went through the Indian Museum. They have the largest Native American museum in the United States.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so it's below the restaurant there. But when you go in, it takes you a couple of hours to go through it. It's pretty amazing. But they said that the guy that built it had the top 10 Native American tribes come in to give their blessing, to let them tour it and give critiques and things. So it's amazing.
Wow.
And it goes through the Civil War. They've got some memorabilia from Abraham Lincoln, and it's pretty fascinating to go through.
I need to go back and see. I missed that.
Did you see the woolly mammoth and the saber-toothed tiger and all the taxidermy stuff? They have like real skeletons right there in the lobby going to the restaurant.
I saw that. It was just incredible. I mean,
Missouri's beautiful.
Missouri is
beautiful. It really
beautiful.
is a beautiful state.
My mother is from South Missouri, close to Arkansas.
Yep. A lot of those rivers that come through the Little Missouri and the Cossatot, all those things, we all kayaked all those things growing up because they ran all the way down into the northern Arkansas through Fayetteville and Fort Smith and all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. What label were you on?
I was 10 years on Atlantic, which is where I was. And then Atlantic closed in 99 and they bounced me over to Warner Brothers. I was on there for a couple of projects. And then I moved over to DreamWorks with James Stroud. And then that got absorbed by Universal. And so I bounced around a little bit. But I did the bulk of my career on Atlantic, which was a Warner Brothers subsidiary. That was all under that Warner Brothers distribution.
Yes. Who signed you?
Rick Blackburn signed me.
Okay.
I got signed. So I got to town in I got to town in September of 1990. And I had never been here before, and I started playing any place that would let me on stage back then. There was a handful of local bars and things that had little contests and stuff, but I tried to find the place where all the local musicians and the songwriters would hang out, because I didn't know anybody when I got here. But I mean,
did you come alone?
I came alone,
yeah,
with a few $100 in my pocket and a beat up old car. I mean, and I never knocked on doors. I didn't do demos. I didn't go to the labels. I wound up at a little radio show, a little supper club over in Kentucky. I started playing it about in December, and then some executives from Atlantic had come over there to see somebody else, and they liked me better. In January, I did a showcase at the Bluebird Cafe. They agreed to sign me. I signed my record deal the day I walked into the studio. It was the end of May in 1991. So from September to May, I signed my record deal, and I cut Sticks and Stones. I had 3 #1 records in the top 5 off of it. 7 months from the time I rolled in.
Gosh.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
That is crazy. Yeah, I mean, we have so much in common. But I swear, I think it's what I was saying earlier, like when you're born to do something. Like, and singing is the only thing that I remember doing. And I started, like, by the time I was 6, I was singing in bars, doing the 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. gig with adults, all adults in the band.
Did your family perform and stuff too?
Yeah.
So it was kind of a family thing.
It was a family thing. I have 2 older brothers and 4 younger sisters, but me and the boys are closer in age. So they started taking guitar lessons. And then they came home, and I would just start singing along with them at like 3 or 4. And our parents were like, "Oh, the kids are talented. We need to." And thank God.
How old were you when you really knew it's what you wanted to do?
I just don't remember not thinking.
See, I always found it was weird. I think it really the switch flipped for me when I was about 12, and that was when straight hit the market. That was the early 80s.
Yeah.
But I mean, growing up, everybody's, it's a hard thing as a child to figure out what you want to do for a living when you're trying to decide, am I going to college? What's my career path going to be? And all of my friends, I mean, I grew up around people that's like, I'm going to work at the cement plant or the paper mill. I'm going to go to college for a little bit. So I always knew.
Me too.
There was never a doubt in my mind. Didn't know how I was going to get there, but I always knew.
Yep.
And I felt like that I felt special because I knew exactly what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't know exactly how it was going to happen, but I had this internal determination that I was going to make it happen. I willed it to happen.
The same exact thoughts. And I just thought, I have no doubt that if somebody can just hear me sing, that's all it's going to take. Yeah. Is just, and your voice is the same way. So, like, as soon as that guy came to that place in Kentucky and heard you sing, you're just so undeniable because you're the country voice that it combines Merle Haggard and Dwight Yoakam and you're a
But I emulated all those people, and I'm sure you did the same thing. I'm not talking about
Reba.
I'm not talking about just regurgitating the lyric. I'm talking about sitting down and deciphering where they took their breath and where the slight vibrato was and where to cut notes off. I mean, I meticulously, and I would do that with Keith Whitley and Merle Haggard and Randy Travis and John Anderson. I mean, all those baritone singers. I mean, and then I do the rockin' stuff, the Bo Cephas stuff, throw a little Skinner in. But I was meticulous. So, I mean, to the point that I obsessed over it. I mean, and I never went off. It was always, there were always songs rolling around in my brain to the point that I would play drums in my sleep at night and I'd grind my teeth down. It never stopped.
Right. Yeah. How many times have you heard me say that? Where I would take like a Mariah Carey, and Mariah Carey just because I wanted to get better, like, you know, do all those things that she did. So I would just sit with her record.
Can you do all that?
Yeah, I could. Yeah. And I can still, but I would have to be really warmed up.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Because that's not a heavy breath flow thing. That's
control.
That's a control thing. It's a real tight, it's almost a squeal in a way. But and I identify that because the low register that I have, I developed that by croaking like a frog. I would walk around and I would do that when I was young. I mean, I remember doing it 14, 15 years old, trying to get that bottom in. And I mean, for a long time, I can hit those true notes now, but I never had that low end like Josh Turner does. Mm-hmm. Mine was a trick. But it gave me an identifiability to my voice.
Absolutely.
It was just a little trick.
I don't think I can do the split up to that high thing that Mariah does. I used to could, but I mean, I can do all of her licks, all the movements, and that's just based on making, you know, because your voice is an instrument, just like
without a doubt,
practicing guitar. I mean, it's the same exact thing.
And for me, you know, and I haven't mentioned George Jones. George was really hard to emulate for a teenage kid because his range was so massive. I mean, he could do like Joe Diffie could. He could hit those bottom things and then go up in the stratosphere and make it clean and precise, you know. And like I remember trying to work up things like "Statue of a Fool" that Ricky Van Shelton had out in the '80s. That's a rangy freaking song for a baritone singer to hit.
Yes,
I remember standing in the shower and I'd work it. It took me forever to be able to hit those high notes in that song, but you just got to work at it.
And then it finally gets there.
It gets easier and easier.
Okay, do you warm up before your shows?
If my voice is fatigued, if I've been on a grueling schedule or my allergies are bothering me, I do sometimes. And I've got a little playlist, and I go back to the basic. I don't do the I don't do all that. I have a playlist of old Haggard songs and some John Anderson, some Mark Chestnut things. I just sing along with things. Mm-hmm. And sometimes if I'm really struggling, I'll start off in the afternoon. I'll do a couple of songs and I'll put it away and drink my tea and my honey.
Right.
And I used to do tequila shots and stuff before the show. I really don't even drink before the show anymore. I do hot tea, and I find that I have more presence and I can do more shows in a row. And and then if I have a nightcap after the show, I'm having one or two and I'm going to bed.
Absolutely.
If I start earlier, then it might be 3 or 4 o'clock before I go to bed. You kind of get on that path. And I made a lot of lifestyle changes over the years as I've gotten older because my body doesn't recover as well as it used. A lot more wine than tequila these days.
Well, I feel I cannot drink before a show because I can't do my licks.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something like I cannot sing when I'm drunk.
Yeah.
I just cannot do it. I sound like shit. I mean, so I always wait and have, you know, but I've in the past year or two really, really cut back on drinking too. Like,
I've had to.
Just don't enjoy it as much.
No, and I just find things that are more important to me in my life.
Yeah.
You know, spending more time with the kids, and we're traveling more and doing other things. So it's just
even on the road when you get cozy and you just go ahead and go to bed. You wake up feeling so much better. Because I love to go sit up front with the driver.
Yeah.
And, you know, drink and smoke some cigarettes. And I did that for years, but only after the shows. But now I'm just in this phase of like, I'd rather just get cozy. And so I had to go down to one bus this year.
Yeah.
That was the first time since I very first got my record deal. So that was really like depressing and, you know, I love my band and crew, but
it's a space thing.
It's a space thing.
And there's an ebb and flow. I mean, and have you felt things swinging back? Because I've felt a huge resurgence of my '90s music and stuff in the last couple of years as we've come out of COVID.
Yes.
Have you felt that the same thing's coming back? I know money's up, and we're playing a lot of bigger festivals. I mean, things have just kind of had an upswing for a lot of us from that era.
I feel like everybody just like 90s. So my first number one hit was in 99.
Yeah.
And then Born to Fly happened in 2001. But yes, I feel like it just became like so popular again, like the 90s country, 2000s country. So absolutely, yeah. I've felt that difference.
It's been a lot of fun to see the resurgence back, and I see kids like, Zach Top and all these guys that are wearing the shirts that we were wearing back in the 90s. So the clothes and the mullets and everything is kind of making a comeback now, too.
Have you seen that store, H Bark C? Mm-mm. It's like a store with those shirts. Like the shirts you wore.
The brush poppers and the Mobettas, all that stuff Garth started that Kix was wearing. I was right in the middle of all that stuff.
I know you
and
were.
I would go.
I was obsessed with you, Tracy.
Oh, well, come on.
Oh, no, I was. I was obsessed with your music, which there's a few songs I want to talk about, but go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just remember the Mo Better shop was at this little small town in Oklahoma, close to where Garth grew up and everything. So we would go to this little place, and it was like one of the Oklahoma towns that had the little town square and the whole thing. And it was like an old downtown building that and they had stacks of fabric in the back. And I would literally go in and pick my fabric out, and I would find the ugliest stuff that I could possibly find. I took the old Tanya Tucker approach. She always said she wanted to drive up in the lot with the ugliest bus on the road. I tried to find the ugliest fabric that I could find. I had pink polka dots. I mean, I had some really bad stuff, and I don't know why. I just thought it was really fun.
Because you thought it would just get you attention?
Funny.
Yeah.
Just to kind of push the envelope over the edge.
And then the really tight Wrangler jeans and the ropers.
All of it. I'm not wearing tight jeans anymore.
I did all that too, like the
red ropers.
The red ropers.
I had red Wranglers. I had on my first on the back of Sticks and Stones album cover. I was in red Wranglers, and they were
amazing.
I was a 29 slim fit. I was 139 pounds soaking wet. I was so tiny.
Oh my! You were really tiny.
I was tiny.
Do a lot of people think that you're from Alabama because of Paint Me in Birmingham?
No, people pretty much know. I mean, I'm originally from Texas and grew up in Arkansas, and I pretty much everybody knows. I don't get confirmed. Nobody thinks I came from Alabama.
Like people think Johnny Cash was in prison.
Yeah, but he wasn't
because he sang Folsom Prison Blues.
It's hard. I love Alabama, but just it's that football team.
I know.
It's just I grew up a Razorback fan. I know, and it's a painful.
My husband was the quarterback.
It's a painful. I know it's a painful experience.
So did you know Jay Barker like when he was playing?
I know who he is. But
of him.
I did.
Like in an angry way?
No,
like because they were winning?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No. I'm just a fan of the game. I'm not one of these crazy obsessed fans that gets mad when my team loses. Being an Arkansas fan, you just get used to losing a lot. It's kind of like being a Cowboys fan right now. It's pretty painful.
Are they bad this year too?
Oh, they're very bad.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, Bama, we're going through the growing pains of the new coach.
Oh, yeah.
And my stepson, Braxton, is a PA. I hope I'm saying it right, but he's one of the coaches, quarterback coach. What does that stand for?
Personal assistant?
No, I think it's position something. Anyway, he's always with the quarterback, and he played at Bama for 4 years.
Yeah.
And then
it's a phenomenal university. I was there with Riley Green in the spring, and we got to go through and tour the whole facility.
Isn't it amazing?
It's amazing. I mean, the physical therapy department and all the tools and the resources they have here. Just going through and looking at the rings and the watches and the national championships, not only of football, but of tennis and soccer and swimming and everything else. And baseball.
Gymnastics.
Everything. I mean, it's a phenomenal school. It really is. It's overwhelming to see just the achievements that school has made and how far ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, they're basically preparing people to go pro. I mean, they really are. That's a professional team. They're at another level.
Yeah, and they have the highest,
How painful was it when Vanderbilt beat Alabama this year?
Well,
that hurt. I know it hurt.
It did. However, Jay and I went to dinner with Braxton the night before, just the three of us. And he was saying, I don't know, because he was talking about how, and this is true, hard it is to get up for a game after a big win. I think it was South Carolina the week before.
Yep. Especially when you underestimate your opponent.
Yeah. And so he said, you just never know what's going to happen, because Vandy practiced all summer for their Alabama game, where Bama practiced all summer for another game. You know what I'm saying? And so that turned out to be Georgia. And it turned out to be true. But we went to the game, and I have a hard time watching the games because all I'm doing is watching for my stepson. Yeah. Like every time they show him on the screen. But it was super hot that day, and it was just annoying. It was very annoying. But and my stepdaughter is a star basketball player at Alabama.
Really?
Yeah, Sarah Ashley Barker.
Yeah.
And then my stepson plays football at UAB.
So y'all have 7 kids
together? Yes.
Together. And you came from a family of 7.
I did.
I came from a family of 6. I have 3 sisters and 2 brothers, so I came from a really large family.
Yeah, 4 sisters and 2 brothers.
Yeah.
And what number are you?
I'm number 3.
Me too.
And so my older brother and sister are my biologicals, and then I have 2 younger sisters and a younger brother that I have. So there's like 16 years between my youngest brother and my oldest brother. So it's a massive age gap between all of us.
Total. There's 23 years between my oldest brother Jay and my youngest sister Alex. Yeah. But part of that was my parents divorced. So my parents had 5 kids. And then my mother remarried and had 2 girls who are technically my half sisters, but they grew up in the same house,
Absolutely. Yeah.
But so that's the big age difference, because there was a big pause between having
Do you consider
kids.
your family crazy? My family crazy.
Well,
I have some crazy elements in my family. Let it put it that way. I think we all have a little crazy in our family.
I think we all do. Yes. Yeah. And what I am so shocked at now is that I have my own family, meaning my 3 children who are 20 and 21 and 25. And so now my only focus is making us not crazy. Like, let's not be crazy. My family is not crazy, like my siblings and all that. But when they're 7, it's hard to have everybody in sync at the same time. You know what I mean? So it seems like there's always some kind of drama dynamic. Yeah. But and I'm sure you do too, but I really am obsessed with my siblings. Like, I love them so much. And I think that so my brother Matt played bass with me my whole professional career till about 3 years ago. He came off the road because they had a surprise second child. And so his wife was my hair, makeup, wardrobe. So my brother and his wife were on the road with me the whole time, helping me raise my kids. And, because they went with me everywhere I went. So that was really fun. But he and I are the only ones that really did it professionally, although all of my siblings are musical. Like, 2 of my sisters sound identical to me.
Really?
So they did all the harmonies on all my records. Any record you listen to, it's always me and them doing all the harmonies. And so I love my siblings so much because I've always needed them, and I've missed being away from Missouri because I had to leave, we had to leave our homes and go to Nashville. Yeah. And that was really hard because I was very connected to them.
I'm always curious about the dynamic of people that are celebrities, because I know the challenges that we had with our kids coming from a family that's mother and father are both celebrities in their own right in such a competitive field.
Right.
How was it for your kids growing up with that scrutiny and attention on them? Because it does affect our kids a lot.
Sometimes it was hard. Yeah. Especially when Jay and I got married. And we moved to Birmingham, and we lived in a little community called Mountain Brook, which is, right outside of Birmingham. So, but we moved down there because I didn't want Jay to marry me and move to Nashville and live away from his kids, because that happened with me and my dad. He moved away to another state, and that just broke my heart, So we all live in Nashville, and his kids are playing ball, in Alabama, but they're all grown. So, it's not like when they're little and you have to be there for everything. So I was just like, I can do my career from anywhere. So the kids and I moved down there. I think that is when things became a little tough for them, because Jay Barker was their new dad and their mom was Sara Evans. And so people do assume things about you when you're famous.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah. They assume that you're going to be a snob, or you're not going to be friendly or nice or normal. And we're so normal.
Yeah.
Like, and I can tell you are too, like so down to earth and normal.
Yeah. I mean, I do my chores typically on Monday, but the dump was closed yesterday, so I didn't get to take the trash out till today.
Yeah.
So, I have my honeydews that I have to deal with every time I come home, and we have pets and dogs.
People don't realize that.
All those normal things. I do primarily all the grocery shopping. I do most of the cooking. Mm-hmm. I take care of the pets. I do the veterinary stuff, So,
what does your wife do?
She has a full-time job taking care of me.
Aha. Now, have you ever been a diva? Did you ever go through a diva phase, like in the height of the?
I think we all get a little carried away with ourselves. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I would call me a diva, but I could be challenging. Mm-hmm. And I've seen a lot of our peers go through that. I think once you get caught up in what we call the bubble, mm-hmm. when your career's hot and you're on the radio and you're going through the roller coaster of records going up the charts, and it's
Money's
just you got all these people around you, and everybody's sole job is to keep you from doing anything stupid.
Yeah, so and to keep you happy.
They keep you happy, and they dote over you and all that. It will go to your head,
right?
And I think I've come out of that over the years, and it's hard. Adjusting to not being on the radio with a current song. That's kind of deflating when you have to go through that whole cycle.
We have to talk about
that. You go through all that and you wonder, where's my career going to go after this? And it takes a little bit to realize that you can actually be a lot better off on the backside of a radio career if you have a body of work. But I had my times where I wasn't the nicest person in the world, but I've grown past it.
The only thing that kept me very down to earth is that I always had, my two sisters that sound just like me toured with me forever. They were on my bus with me.
That's got to help.
That helped. And then my brother being the bass player. So they just were not going to let me. They weren't going to treat me like I'm famous or like the same as the tour manager treats you or, other people. Because you're right. If I said, okay, tomorrow, I want a brown and white spotted cow to stand outside my bus all day just so I can look at it, they would have to do that. So you can, if you want to, just become a monster.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
And you might go through small phases of it, but I think when you grow up in a small town and you have good values and you're saved and you got good Christian values from your family and you grew up with all those things, you might depart from it for a little bit, mm-hmm. but you're always going to come back home.
Yeah. And my prayer, before we went out to do the radio tour for Born to Fly, I met with my pastor and he said, I'm going to give you some advice. When you go out, I want you to always think about having a servant's heart to the label people who are out with you, helping you promote the record, and just always have a servant's heart. And that really stuck with me. So when we're on the road, I try to have a servant's heart to all the band. And also I'm very old fashioned. So, because my band and crew is all guys except for two girls, I have no problem cleaning up the counters and cleaning up the little bus thing, or maybe getting somebody like, do you want me to make you a sandwich? Or, just because I like very traditional roles and being gracious. But when did you get saved? Like, when did you really come to know the Lord?
I got saved when I was 14. In the Methodist Church, we go through what we call the conference council. And so you have to go through that whole process where you study the Bible and you go through prayer routines and you go through all that. And I was baptized in the river and the whole thing. Mm-hmm. But I've been through a couple of things over the years that I think the Bible refers to as the quickening, where I've just been knocked down to my knees and just had the burdens lifted off of my back after just going through some turbulent times in life. So I've felt the power of God. I know what it feels like. It's not something that I just wish I knew was real. I know it's real. I've lived it. I've felt it. And I think once you go through those experiences, it does change your perspective on things and really humbles you. I remember telling my mother, and she didn't really understand. This was years ago. It was early on in my career. And I remember talking to her on the phone, and I told her, I said, I really think I understand how Jesus felt, because when you go out there and you're in front of those fans and you're in front of all those people, you can almost experience what Jesus felt like when he was preaching to the masses and when he was dividing the fish and the loaves of bread and all those things, because there's a power to that. And my mother didn't understand what I was talking about, but there are some correlations and some similarities between what we do. Now, on the other side of it, which I've always struggled with, is, we basically are catering to idolatry. We're in an industry where we're looked up to and we're idolaters.
Right.
And I've always struggled with that, but I think you have to realize that and try to keep that stuff in perspective too, and don't carry it home with you. But it does,
yes.
it does
and don't
weigh
let
heavy on me.
it take root.
Yes, where you get carried away. And I think when you go through those periods of life where you do get carried away with yourself, I mean, those are things that bring me back down to earth, because I don't want to be that person.
Yes. And I always ask the Lord to show me my heart and, to keep me grounded, because I am so grateful for the fans, because we would have nothing without them. Yeah. And, I have so much immense respect for my musicians. I always have a great band, and I always hold my band to really, really high standards, because some of my music, is pretty progressive country, sometimes a little bit on the difficult side, So anyway, I never want it to take root. And then before every show, I always pray and ask the Lord to lay his hands on my vocal cords, and not so that I can feel reward, or because I want them to have a great night. And I always pray and ask the Lord to let everybody leave happier than they were when they got there. Just that kind of stuff, to where it just constantly. And then also when you're a mom and you've got the kids, like I would change a poopy diaper and then go right to stage. So that also keeps you. Did
you see
humble.
Recently where Brantley Gilbert about the baby?
Yes.
Wasn't that the most amazing? I talked to him after that.
Okay, I don't know the details.
Okay,
Tell me.
So they had a midwife out with him, and she's like 9 months pregnant on the bus. He's out on the stage doing his show, and her water's broke. She's getting ready to have the baby on the bus, so he stops several songs in. The baby's coming out. He goes to the bus, delivers the baby, and then comes back in and finishes the show.
You're lying.
The only thing he didn't do was hold the baby up like Mufasa.
Oh my gosh.
Which I think would have been amazing. What a way to bring a kid into the world. Wouldn't that be awesome?
I would not be able to finish the show. I'd be crying so hard.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I'd be also.
You wouldn't be. Yeah,
in the bed.
In a little bit different place. But I just thought that was amazing. Did you homeschool your kids? Well, I mean, if you're traveling around, because we did ours, but we didn't get to travel with ours because my kids were on competition dance team from the time they were 3 or 4 years old, and that's all consuming. Did you travel and teach the kids on the road?
Okay. Here's the deal. So it hasn't been until recently that I've really started realizing my personal opinion. So people can take this however they want, and everybody is allowed to have an opinion and freedom to speak what we want. But over the last few years, I've really started realizing how much bullshit school is. And so I wish that I would have just never put them in school, like kindergarten, first grade. But so from birth till 6, they went with me everywhere. My rule was I would never go more than 3 days without, having them with me, but I really didn't even do that. I mean, we were lugging through airports, and I had built-in baby beds on the bunks because my girls are only 19 months apart. Yeah. So they were with me all the time. All that to say, I guess in my mind, in those days, I thought, well, they need to go to school. They need to have a normal life. Socialization. That's all bullshit. Because there's so much time wasted in school. Like, if they could cut it down to 3 days a week, 4 or 5 hours a day, and then actually teach things that matter, like reading, spelling, writing, math, how to balance a checkbook, how to budget, how to sew, how to cook, things that people need to know.
Yeah.
Because these kids are coming out of high school now. Well, a lot of kids don't even know how to read still or do math.
It's hard for me to understand. I mean, but it's like we focus more on just having the physical body in the seat at the school because the government pays you per hour for each child to be there.
That's right.
And so you're just filling a seat.
And I have opinions as to why that is. I mean, I think that, there are a lot of bad motives. And so if you're, things can be, a child can be formed, in a way like everybody stand in line, everybody to go along and whatever, where I just feel like now my opinions have totally changed. And it should be like, let's go to the river today, or let's go to the farm today and take care of the horses, or let's plant a garden, instead of sitting in a freaking uncomfortable chair, being away from your parents all day long.
And when we were kids, I remember not going back to school until Labor Day. Mm-hmm. So you would get out after, before Memorial Day, and you'd have like 3 months in the summertime. Now you don't get done till June. You're going back to school 1st of August.
Totally.
And the hours are longer too. But we
wasted time.
It's just wasted time. And I think our kids went through the 4th grade and they went to private school, and then we pulled them out and started doing homeschooling with a co-op, and they finished up. The only thing that was bad about it is I think they really had a hard time with study habits as they got into college. They struggled with their study habits. So there are pros and cons to all of it, but hey, they've navigated the water.
I begged my kids not to go to college.
I've got one that just graduated with a degree in nutrition and dietetics with a master in business.
Now, see, that's amazing.
And the other one, the younger one, is setting up drums and tuning guitars and pulling cable on the road. And she's getting ready to go to sound engineering school at Blackbird in January. So
I love that. I love that school.
She is ready. She wants to be a sound engineer. She wants to do studio stuff. So she went a year to college, and it didn't. It just like me, it didn't take.
I went to college for 11 days.
Yeah.
I swear, I was miserable every single second that I was there.
I hated school. I hated everything about it because it's like you go and it's like, why am I doing this? I'm never going to use any of this stuff.
Why am I doing it? Yeah. And why? Oh, also, I believe that that history should be taught too, very much so, and like civics and all that.
Oh, without a doubt.
Without a doubt. But you can do that, I believe, in 4 hours instead of 8 hours. And also just the kids sitting under those depressing lights all day and not being out in nature. And so, I've really, really changed my opinion about that. Now, my kids went to an awesome school in Mountain Brook. It was amazing. But gosh, and they played sports, so that was fun. I don't think there's anything wrong with college if you want to be a doctor or a nutritionist or,
But the cost of a higher education nowadays is so expensive. And, we were blessed enough to put money back and have 529s and stuff situated for our kids. A lot of people aren't capable of doing that.
Right.
So but it's still, I mean, when you think about spending $100,000 or $200,000 to get your child a 4-year education.
Right.
And a lot of times they come out of it and they wind up working a bar, being a bartender or a waitress downtown in one of the restaurants or the bars here. And I mean, it's like, I think it's overrated, and I think we're missing an opportunity. There's so many other ways. I think finding something that makes you happy is much more important. It's not about the money, because I didn't get into this business, and I'm sure I didn't get in this business for the money.
No.
I really didn't care about seeing my name on the marquee. I wanted to live the lifestyle. I grew up dreaming about the lifestyle of this business.
Same. I wanted to be on a bus.
I wanted to be on a bus. There's something magical about a bus to me, and I still love getting on the bus. That was the hardest thing about COVID for me, was that I wasn't getting on the bus and leaving for months. Because I had 20 and 30 something years I've been doing this. COVID's the only time I've ever taken a year off. I'd never done that before. Did you?
No, I'd never done that before.
I had a hard time with it. It took me a while to decompress, because I kept thinking, going back to work.
Plus, I was just scared in general. Yeah. I wasn't scared of COVID. I just was scared of, I was like, is the world ending? And as Christians, I know we're supposed to like look forward to Christ's return.
It's scary.
The unknown is scary. And I was just like, how long is this going to last? Like, what is happening? Yeah.
I've had COVID 4 times, and I had the shot and the booster, and it didn't stop nothing,
Yeah. So. Yeah. I think I've had COVID twice.
Yeah.
I had one really bad COVID, but it was, like the flu. I mean, I've had the flu so bad. I had the flu one time for 5 weeks, and I was like, this is never going to go away, because it went through every single part of my body, stomach, strep throat, all that. But so, I was down for a good 5 days, very like sweating and chills and fever and body aches, that stuff.
Before I forget, I've got something for you.
I know. I'm so excited.
So let me tell you about this. So, and I'm sure I've been doing my charity organization is called Mission Possible, and we are in our 19th year. So we're coming up on our 19th annual turkey fry. So I fry turkeys for the homeless, and it started off 19 years ago as just an awareness campaign for the Nashville Rescue Mission, and then it really has grown into this amazing thing. And we'll have 250 to 300 volunteers. We have 3,000 turkeys right now in Second Harvest Food Bank. We're going to cook 1,500 of them coming up in a couple of weeks. And so we'll service a lot of them to the rescue mission, a lot of them to street preachers and different organizations that we affiliate with. We donate a lot of money to them. We have refrigerated trucks that will be taking box meals around to the different counties around Nashville and delivering hundreds and hundreds of meals to all these places. And this year we've been working with some friends, and we have developed a injectable marinade, and it is gluten-free. My children have gluten allergies. It's all natural. It has no MSGs and everything. So this is my injectable marinade that you can, with our little box kit. So that is for you.
Wait, so explain to me what this is.
This is it's got an injector and everything, so you can take your turkey or your chicken or whatever you want to do, and you just inject it into the bird. Then you can fry it, you can bake it, you can smoke it, whatever you want to do. So there's a temperature thermometer and everything in there too. So that's just a little gift box for you.
Okay, so you inject this into your turkey, and it makes it taste amazing.
It makes it taste absolutely amazing. So there's 2 flavors. One of them is a little mild. There's a Creole butter and a Cajun Creole that's a little bit spicier.
I don't know which camera to put it in, but... Yeah.
And these are all, you'll be able to find these on Amazon, and we will be hopefully in Tractor Supply and Bass Pro Shop and all these retail places.
So Tracy Lawrence, Mission Possible.
Yes.
And you can find that on Amazon.
Yes.
That's amazing. Okay. Not this year, because we've already made plans to spend the holidays with relatives out of state. I want to volunteer next year.
It's an amazing thing to see. We started off with a handful of friends, and with the first year that we did it in the parking lot of the Nashville Rescue Mission, the church that we were going to at the time, the parishioners brought us, they filled their propane bottles up, and they brought the propane bottles. We had a bunch of us that bought like 100 turkeys or something. It was pretty small. So the first year that we did it at the rescue mission, it was just like this tiny thing. And then it just kind of got legs, and we started getting sponsorship, and it grew and grew. And now we do the turkey fry and the concert the Tuesday week of Thanksgiving every year. And then the spring we do our golf tournament, which is pretty much the driver that raises all the money. Golf tournaments raise tons of money.
No pun intended.
So we'll raise, I mean, we typically $400,000 or $500,000 a year, and then we'll raise a couple of $100,000 at the turkey fry. But all of that goes back into the community. You don't realize, I had a family member that was struggling with addiction, which is one of the things that got us into all that. And then as we kind of went through the process, and I started realizing, there's a lot of people that live on the streets. They live in tent cities. They don't want to be confined in the mission. But there's so many small organizations that are 2 or 3 people that are just doing it. It's a labor of love for them, that are donating their time, and they they might have their designated night where they cook food on Tuesday night or Wednesday night or whatever. Everybody has designated nights. There are organizations that will go around to the tent cities and bring trailers with washers and dryers in them to wash their clothes, that provide showers and things like that. You don't think about that if you're living in a tent, how important it would be for you to be able to go take a hot shower with a door that locks and to have your clothes washed and not be afraid somebody's going to shank you when you come out of your shower. So and the deeper you get into it, the more difficult it is because you realize you're barely scratching the surface. And we've fed tens of thousands of people and donated millions of dollars. And as you travel around the country, you realize that you're barely making a dent. But at the end of the day, you hope that what you're doing is making a difference and you're inspiring somebody else and it's moving down the road, that it's not just about you. You do your part, whatever God calls you to do, and you put yourself into it and you let it go from there. So
that's amazing. I've never had the opportunity to really do something like this, because I swear I just feel like time marches on and it's marching so fast. And when you tour year round, it's almost like, there's never a chance to live, do other things. So I commend you so much for doing this, because I know how much you tour. Yeah. And that's just incredible. And thank you so much for the gift.
It takes a lot of people.
Yeah. So where's the concert every year?
The Turkey Fry is not in the parking lot of the rescue mission anymore. We actually do that at the fairgrounds, the downtown fairgrounds off of Wedgwood. So they have two massive pavilions. So we're covered now. We'll have 250 volunteers. We'll have 150 fryers going, 3 big vats that'll cook 30 to 40 at a time. I have my friends from Louisiana that come up and they cook all kinds of Cajun food, and we eat through the day, and all of our sponsors are displayed. We have a whole system to all of it. And then I'll usually peel off in the middle of the afternoon. For the most part, we've done it at what used to be the Wild Horse, but is now Category 10, which is Luke Combs' new place. Okay. So they just opened the facility back up. They've done a huge renovation at what used to be the Wild Horse. So we're going to be the first big event. I think Luke did the grand opening a couple of weeks ago, but we're getting ready to do that'll be the first really big event that they've had there.
Please call me next year.
Absolutely.
I would love to be involved in that. Yes, that is awesome. Thank you so much for that.
You're very welcome.
Well, we're going to cook. So my daughter Olivia is engaged to be married.
Awesome.
I'm so excited. She's getting married next December. And this will be our third Thanksgiving that we've spent with her fiance's parents and his brother. And so we started doing it because we always do a Christmas tour. So we're like, let's just go somewhere where it's close to the first show of the Christmas tour. And so this year we're going to go to Arizona, but I'll take that because we're cooking the whole meal. Oh, yeah. We rented a house and stuff.
So what's, when you put your Thanksgiving plate together, what's on your Thanksgiving plate?
Okay.
Tell me.
Definitely turkey and ham. Mm-hmm. I have to have a roll with butter that's melting, as soon as I put it on.
Stuffing or dressing? There's a difference.
Stuffing.
Okay.
Okay. Green bean casserole.
Okay. Sweet
potato casserole, or just, I just like to make like sweet potatoes like I would mashed potatoes.
Yep.
With lots of butter, salt, pepper, and brown sugar. And I just kind of like to mix that up.
Candied yams? Is that what they call those?
Basically. Yeah. I'm a really good cook, but I'm a simple cook, like country farm food. That's all I know how to do. And then what am I missing? Oh, always some kind of like macaroni and corn bake dish with like Velveeta cheese. Yeah. My granny used to make that and I loved it.
I love Velveeta, but it's not good for you.
No, it's not good for you.
But I sure love it. It melts so good.
It's so good. I don't eat that much, so I think anything in moderation is okay. But that will be on my plate. And mashed potatoes and gravy.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Which I make. What about you? Did I miss anything?
We do. I'll usually do, because we'll have 20 or 30 people at the house, so we have a large gathering. So I'll usually fry a couple of turkeys, and then I'll usually smoke one, and then we'll have ham. But my wife we do dressing, which is cornbread based, and so she does a combination of my mother's recipe and her grandmother's recipe. But my mom always put little Cornish game hens in, so she would boil those, and then she would use the chicken broth, and so the onions and just all the spices and everything. She'd bake the cornbread and crumble everything up. Yeah. But with the dressing and the chicken in there, when all the turkey's gone, the dressing is a meal by itself. But I love the turkey. I love the dressing.
Do you make the gravy?
Not really.
I'm not great at brown gravy.
I'm great at milk gravy. I'm great at milk gravy, but I don't do the brown gravy real well. But we never. The giblet gravy. My grandmother would make giblet gravy, but I never liked that. So that's where you take like the gizzard and stuff out of the turkey. I never liked the flavor of it.
Right.
But my mother would just take creamy chicken soup and heat it up, and we'd put creamy chicken soup on it. Yeah. I know that's probably really strange.
No, whatever tastes yummy.
Use cream of whatnot for everything.
Whatever tastes yummy. That's all I care about.
But I love that, and I love mashed potatoes. I love peas and corn. We do broccoli cheese casserole, and I love pies. I love apple pie. Apple pie is my favorite.
I love apple pie.
I love apple pie so much.
Yeah.
But we graze all day.
Pie.
I love pecan. Cracker Barrel upset me really bad. It seems like anytime I start to like something, they take it away from me. Cracker Barrel used to have pies every year, and they had a apple pecan that had chocolate on the top of it. And it was so good. I mean, you didn't even have to bake a pie. And they don't even serve pies anymore.
Why?
I don't know.
What the hell, Cracker Barrel?
It's un-American.
Wait,
upsets
why?
Me. They took them all away. I mean, you can't buy the pies in a Cracker Barrel anymore.
Cracker Barrel, we want to know why you are not selling pies anymore.
And then I got upset the other day because I love Pepperidge Farms makes these little things in the frozen dessert section. They're called apple turnovers. Come 4 in a box. And they're not there anymore either. Why is it everything I like gets taken away from me? It hurts my heart.
I swear I'm not just saying this, but we are so similar. Okay, everything that I love, like a brand of makeup or something that I just love, always gets discontinued.
Am I not buying enough of it?
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's like popular, and then I swear, here's another theory. There's so many people in this world that are doing jobs that they shouldn't be doing. And because my question is always, who made that decision? Who is in charge of that? Because that is the dumbest, I just think I need to be in charge of everything. And then everything will just go better. Like Cracker Barrel pies, put them back in.
I think you and my wife are going to get along great.
I can't wait. Wait. Did you write Time Marches On?
Bobby Braddock wrote it by himself.
That's right. I forgot about that.
He
has another song that I've always wanted to cut. I believe it's him.
Bobby's a genius.
It's called Another Way to Feel Alive. Have you ever heard that?
I think I've heard that one.
I don't think it's ever been cut, and I want to cut it, but I listened to Time Marches On. I listened to like 5 of your songs this morning. Again, just to refresh, because I don't need to learn your songs. I know them all. But Time Marches On hit differently today because we're older, and I'm like, now I'm in the sister calls herself a sexy grandma.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not a grandma yet. I can't wait. I cannot wait. So you're only like 3 years older than me.
Yeah.
So we're both how old are your girls?
My oldest is 23. She'll be 24 in June, 27th of June. Youngest, she will be 22 in April.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're getting close to that point. Are you excited about that?
I'm looking forward to grandbabies. I think I'm going to be a much better grandfather than I was a dad. There's some gaps in there that I've worked in the last several years are really making up for because I was gone so much.
Right.
But my favorite thing
Do they forgive you?
Oh, my relationship with my children is so good right now.
I'm sure it
And my
is.
marriage is better than it's ever been. My wife and I have really, we've gone to counseling. We've overcome some things. I mean,
Same.
We're getting ready to celebrate our 25th anniversary in January. We've been together long. We've been together 27 years.
That's amazing.
And there's highs and lows in a marriage, and it's not, I've been married before and so had she, just like it. I mean, you're trying to overcome all that, but it comes with its challenges, especially in this business,
Yeah.
and traveling and temptations and all the vices and things that are out on the road. It's not easy to have a long committed relationship in this industry.
It's not.
It's difficult, and we've worked through a whole lot of stuff, and I feel like we've overcome so many of the challenges that were put in front of us in our marriage and our communication level and our relationship with our children has grown to a wonderful place. But I've had to humble myself and realize that I needed to make some personal changes in my life and get control of myself and be more understanding of the other perspectives in my life. And that was a hard thing for me to do, because in this business, when you're running wide open and everybody's catering to you, you tend to get a little bit spoiled and self-consumed. And I think getting to a place you realize that there's a lot of other people in your life that are much more important than yourself. It took me a while to get there.
Well, it's hard. I mean, it's not like you can totally be blamed, because it's hard to remember, like, okay, if I wasn't famous, how would this go right now? Like this weekend that we've got together at home, because we do become used to having a lot of people doing things for us. Yeah. And so, that's, I think, the most challenging part about any celebrity's marriages is that, and also, especially men out on the road, like, women are just, like, I don't feel like men have ever thrown themselves at me on stage.
Oh, I have a few friends that would.
Well,
they say, I'm doing Sarah Evans' podcast. Can I go? I have a couple of friends that adore you.
Oh, well, thank you.
And probably a lot of them that adore you.
Well, thank you. I mean, but it seems like the girls are always more brave about, like, just throwing themselves at the male star, the guy country star.
Yeah.
And I don't think women necessarily have that, because I don't think men do that as much, like, from the audience.
Yeah.
Just kind of a different.
And the other part of it too is that, when it comes to the kids, we chose this path. Mm-hmm. It's something that we dreamed of, and it took me a long time to realize that my dream's not everybody else's dream. And They didn't make a choice. They were born into it. They didn't have a conscious choice. They didn't get to make the decision. And it comes with its challenges, as they grow up and they start to realize that as soon as somebody finds out who your dad is, it changes the way they treat you.
Yes.
And I remember I'd taken one of my daughters, we'd gone to the gym. This is several years ago. She was still in high school. And we were having some issues. She was kind of struggling with some things. And I remember we'd gone to the gym and worked out that morning. And she wanted to go to the IHOP. So we went to the IHOP and we were sitting in there. Nobody reckoned. I've lived in the same town for, 20, 25 years, 30 years. Mm-hmm. And so we were sitting there, and all of a sudden one of my songs came on the speakers. And you just watched her just slink down in the chair. She just got deflated, and she starts looking around. Did they do that on purpose? Do they know we're here? And you just see the freaking walls come up. And it breaks my heart, because, I've had to learn how to understand what they're going through and their perspective.
Right.
And when I do my podcast and I talk to other artists, especially artists that have either come, like Lori came from a famous father, people that have either come from that side of it, or how they deal with their children and some of the challenges they've had, because it's tough.
Yes.
And it's tough for any kid nowadays growing up with social media and all the pressures and all the things that come with it.
I agree.
But it just adds another dynamic to it, because people looking from the outside in think that everything is just beautiful and it's all roses and unicorns. And, life comes with its challenges, and I don't care if you got money in the bank or you're famous or whatever, it still comes with its challenges.
100%.
It doesn't take away your humanity or your morals or any of those things, or your pain and suffering when you lose people and people that you love get hurt. I mean, life is just full of challenges. You just have to navigate it.
Yeah, it's never easy. But your daughter could have rewritten your song. And
she's the one.
She could have sang, "They found out who my dad is."
Yeah, she could have. I'm so proud of her. I didn't know if she was going to go into the music business, but a couple of years on the road with me is really. I mean, now that she's getting ready to go to sound school, I'm so proud of her that
that is so cool.
Found a path of something that she's passionate about, and she's looking to make her own way in the world.
Well, there's not a lot of girls that do that either.
There's more than you realize. There's a lot of them in the business now. There really is.
That's good. Yeah. Because, I mean, why not? And you have to be so musically talented to be able to do that.
She plays a little bit of everything. She plays a little piano. She started off playing mandolin. She's had guitar lessons. She plays the drums. She's learning Pro Tools. I mean, she plays a little. I got her a bass guitar for her birthday last year. So she plays a little bit of everything, which has made her very well-rounded. I'm so proud of her.
Oh, I can tell. Yeah. I mean, that's awesome. How much do you tour?
I'm going to finish up with about 90 this year.
That's a lot.
And I really didn't want to do that many because I've got so many irons in the fire. You know, a lot of people don't realize I self-managed myself from like 95 up to like 2014 before I went with a management company. And I'm so happy that I did. I had gone through the process of, I was running 2 independent record labels, a couple of publishing companies. I had acts signed. I was working, 100 days on the road and then coming home and going to the office on Sunday, Mondays, and Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And I did that for years. So I've tried.
Why did you do that?
I got stolen. I mean, I had managers that robbed me early on, and I was pretty bitter about it. And I didn't trust people. And it took me a long time to let that go. And really what kind of got me over that hump is I just woke up one day and I felt like, the best analogy that I have is I felt like those guys in the carnival that are spinning the plates on the broomsticks. And I had all these plates going, and I was holding on for dear life, but I wasn't doing any of it great. And I just felt like I was getting to the place that it was all about to come crashing down, and I had to make some changes. I had to get some things off of my plate because I wasn't a good husband. And I wasn't a good father, and I wasn't a good artist. I wasn't doing anything great. I mean, I was just hanging on for dear life, and I had to make some serious changes in life. And I'm at a good place now where I've let go a lot of the business side of it, which I'm still very passionate about. But it was time to slow down. I really wanted this last couple of years. I really wanted to get down to about 70 or 75 dates, but it's just hard to do right now.
That's where I am, like somewhere between 70 and 80. And I feel like that's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, and I feel like, and sorry if I've already said this because I feel like I repeat sometimes from the other episodes, but I feel like my kids need me more now than they even did when they were little. Because like your early 20s are tough.
Yeah.
Do you feel that?
I don't think they ever stop needing you.
No, they never stop needing you. But I feel like all 3 of mine, I'm having a harder time leaving them now, even than I did when they were little. Although I like I said, I didn't leave them that much. But now I just I get FOMO, really bad FOMO, because it's like, Jay and the kids are all doing something and I'm on the road, and like going down to one bus. I've felt this year, I felt extremely lonely on the road, and just kind of being in the back room, kind of by myself, and doing my own hair and makeup and clothes, and just not having the money or the room to have everybody that I used to be able to have.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I'm really, really trying to figure out what I'm going to do, because the 90 minutes on stage are heaven.
Well, that's what we do for free. We get paid for the travel. I heard you say that earlier, and it is very much the case. And
you don't want to lose people by cutting back on shows, but you also don't want to wake up one day and realize I haven't lived. I've just been on the road. I'm telling you, I've lived more in the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, we've taken trips to Italy. I'm not talking about 5-day trips. We've gone to Italy for 3 weeks at a time. Amazing.
We've gone to Europe, and I've even when we toured this year, even though I've done almost 90, it'll be 90 dates around that when we finish up. I took a week off for Easter. We went to the beach and had a family reunion. I took the last week of May off. I took the 4th of July week off. I took the first week of August off. I took 2 weeks off in September. I'm taking 2 weeks off the end of this month, and then when I shut down after Vegas in December, I don't go back out for like 2.5 months.
That's great.
But a lot of it's been 3 and 4 day weeks to get those numbers up like that.
Yes.
But it by the time I hit October, I'm getting pretty burnt. I'm tired.
I am right now. I'm extremely bitter and exhausted right now.
And I've got other irons in the fire too. I mean, I'm trying to write for a new record. I've got a 300 a 40-acre housing development that me and one partner are building. I had real estate meetings all morning. I had contractors and engineers and stuff in from Denver and Orlando this week. I've got a meeting with the Chamber of Commerce and with the City Council and stuff tomorrow. So I still juggle a lot of things.
Would you say you're a workaholic?
I am a workaholic.
Definitely.
I am.
And would you say you're a control freak?
Not as bad as I used to be. But when I was managing myself and running my independent labels and stuff, I was an absolute control freak. And I remember coming home. This was kind of a turning point for me and my wife. I came home and she would have the kids and she'd be doing all this stuff and I'm out on the road and I'd come in. She finally one day, she said, "You've got to stop. I don't work for you. And if you don't change the way that you come home," she said, "I've got everything lined out and you come in like a tornado and try to micromanage everything we do. You got to stop."
Yes.
And that's really hard for a person that wants to control everything to accept and kind of back off from. I've had to work on a lot of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where do you think the need to micromanage comes from?
Getting hurt by people and take advantage of by people. And having to kind of know, and I think there's so much about the reason that I've been able to let go of so much. I have so much trust and confidence in my manager and my management team these days, and I didn't have that for a long time, and I felt like I had to do everything. So finding that peace and comfort and trust with people that I put, I trust them with everything I have.
Right.
It's another marriage when you have those people. They're handling your finances, they're booking your dates, they're handling your routing, and they have to listen to your wants and your not wants. It's like, I don't want to work this. It takes a while to develop that relationship with people that you trust 100%.
Right.
I haven't had that in a long time.
I cannot believe you went that long managing yourself.
I was managing myself at the height of my career when Time Marches On came out in 95. I had a full staff. I owned a building on 17th Avenue. I was down here all the time.
You had a staff of people.
Oh, yeah.
But when you say you were managing yourself, there was nobody, so you would deal with like the publishing company and the booking agent and your business manager. Like, you would do all of that.
I would deal with a lot of it. Now, what I realized early on is that nobody wanted to deal directly with the artist, because when you walk in as an
100%.
artist, they're not going to talk to you the same.
Absolutely.
They're going to glad hand you and pat you on the back. So I always had to have a person managing my office that was going in to do the due diligence and negotiating contracts. But I was overseeing everything.
Gotcha.
Every bit of it.
Yeah.
But I might not have been there for every meeting, but I was calling all the shots.
Yeah. I think that knowing that as an artist gives you a weird complex.
Do you think that in this day and age, it seems like labels don't want long-term artists as much as they used to, because the more you know, the more difficult you become, and the bigger your budget gets as you go through those contracts.
Right.
And they want young and stupid. The less you know, the easier you are to manipulate.
It's like how
I'm
companies
too old to
want
be manipulated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like how companies they would rather have part-time workers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's not like.
And I don't say that in a bad way. I love this music industry, and I've made so many great relationships and friends over the years, and my roots are very deep. But I'm very much a realist in everything that I deal with. I don't have my head buried in the sand about the reality, and I can be vicious if I need to. I just choose not to be anymore.
Right.
I have to be, because I don't think, as the artist, you're not supposed to show that side of you. You're supposed to be the guy that goes out, puts on the happy face, entertains people, and always in a good humor and everything. When you're dealing with all the business side of it, it's really hard to stay in that place.
Well, totally. And even if you're not doing that, it's still hard, because if you're in a bad mood, or you're having a hard day, or whatever, you know, or you are legitimately upset about something for a good reason. My team knows the things that drive me crazy, and the things that really upset me. And I think that's all a trust issue. But if you get upset or throw a fit, then you're seen as, well, she's a bitch, or she's a diva, or,
What's one of your biggest pet peeves on the road?
On the road?
What sets you off?
Nothing really on the road bothers me. I have an amazing band and crew. But one of my biggest peeves is not being told things.
I don't like being blindsided by anything.
Exactly.
Don't throw something at me out of left
Right.
field. That's a big one for me.
I like communication, and my team sitting here knows that. I mean, I get furious if there's something that I wasn't told. Why didn't you just tell me that?
Just to mentally prepare for it.
Just to mentally prepare, or just to be in the know. Then you start getting trust issues like, well, why does everybody know this but me? Yeah. Or the worst thing I think that for me is to have somebody in one aspect of the career, like a road guy, say, nobody told me that. Nobody told me. So I like a lot of communication, over communication.
Do you live out of your calendar?
Yes.
I'm looking at my calendar, and there's about 4 people that input my calendar, and I'm watching everything that goes on. I know everything that's happening.
Yeah.
And I'm usually 2 or 3 weeks out, but like right now at this time of year, I'm already blocking for family reunion. I'm already blocking family time, because right now, as we wrap up the end of the year, we're starting to put the whole tour together for when we go back out next year. And if you don't block things on the front end, then you've already made commitments.
And that's what's so hard about what we do, because you can't cancel shows.
Yeah.
So once a show's booked, if it's on the calendar and you made a mistake and you forgot to block something,
gotta eat it. Yeah.
It's terrible. And like one of my team members accidentally put something on next year's calendar, and because Master Tour, and it was just a mistake. It was not that big of a deal, but it affected it affected my life. So you have to be really, really careful. That's why I live in my calendar, because you can't make mistakes. Like I can't make mistakes, they can't make mistakes, or we're gonna get screwed. Like if I'm like for instance, I have 3 weddings in my family next year. I bet I have checked with them and looked at it 10 times, making sure it is blocked. And now also I'm asking them to run by every date with me. When Jay and I were separated, I just said, take everything. Just take everything. You don't even have to ask me any booking. And also COVID, I was worried about money, all that. Starting now, I'm asking to be having everything ran by me so that I say yes or no to every run of shows that they're putting together. You probably do that anyway.
I do a lot of it. Not I set parameters about what I want. I stopped doing clubs. The only club that I really do now is like Billy Bob's. So I stopped doing. I'll do big beer gardens in Texas, but I don't want to go on at 11 o'clock at night.
Right.
I don't want to play for orchestrated fights. There's a lot of places that I refuse to play anymore, and I just had to put my foot down on a lot of things.
I just did 2 shows in one night at Green Hall. I won't do that again.
I love Green Hall. It's been years since I played it, though. Physically, I can't do the workload that I used to. I'm about 3 days a week's about all I can handle. Yeah. It pushes me. I did 4 and 5 days, one run this year, and that was a heavy workload, but I just physically can't do all the things that I used to do. I mean, my body can't keep up.
It's not as easy as it seems, and it's very so much wear and tear on your body. Yeah. And our shows are really high energy, and I'm wearing 6-inch heels, and so I'm exhausted.
And even when you sleep, a lot of people don't realize, I sleep on the bus.
I don't.
But you never really go into deep sleep. A lot of times I don't go to sleep until the bus stops in the morning. Mm-hmm. So you're always tired. When I come home after a 3 or 4 day run, I'm exhausted when I get home.
We're identical twins.
I just burn. I'm just burning the candle at both ends, and I try to a lot. I'm a napper. I mean, I have to take a nap in the middle of the afternoon after sound check. I'm usually gonna come lay down because I'm tired. Yeah, because I don't sleep at night.
Same. How many times have I said I never fall asleep till the bus stops? When I hear the engine turn off and the bus goes, that's when I fall asleep.
I know.
And then when I get home from a run that first day, I'm dead.
I want to sit in my recliner. I want to turn the football game on Sunday. I want my puppy dogs in my lap. Yeah. And that's where I want to stay.
Yeah. And I can't stay awake. Yeah. But you get yourself up. But I did make a parameter this year. We're not doing any one-off fly dates. None.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
I freaking hate those.
And flying's
if somebody wants to offer me $500,000, I'll do that. Oh, but
Or give me 200 hours on a private jet for the year.
Exactly.
And then I'll do this. Yeah.
Yes.
The cost of everything's just gotten crazy, though.
It's crazy.
Touring is very expensive. I mean, a lot of people don't realize. They think you're making a lot of money, but my overhead's tremendous.
Overhead is tremendous.
You got a lot of employees. You got a lot of salaries. You got insurance. I mean, the wear and tear. I own my buses. I've got a full-time mechanic at my house every week when we come out. It never ends. So, but when I've got older buses, most of my buses are two of my buses are 2003. So you got to love on them all the time.
I no, you are very much a micromanager.
I can't help it.
Yeah.
I try to not be. I do.
Yeah.
But my wife is too. She has her things that she does.
Right.
I mean, we're very compatible.
I hope that you're able to let go of that more and more and more, and allow other people just to do things for you. I'm pretty good at that.
I let management now do a lot of things that I would never have allowed 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But with that, being able to let go of other things, it frees my mind up to do other things that are not in the music business that can be very lucrative, these things.
Exactly.
Real estate ventures and other things that I'm involved in. So I've got to have something going on all the time. My mind never stops. I mean,
I want to stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to retire.
No.
But I just want to figure out how to tour and tour enough not to lose my band.
Yeah.
And my people. I have the best crew that I've ever had right now.
I want to travel more, though. And I don't mean travel on a bus. I love Europe. I love going overseas. I love Australia. I mean, I like to go. I like to take my kids. I want to go experience and do more things and see other cultures and experience other cuisine and experience just all these different. There's so much amazing stuff in our world to see.
Totally.
And I want to experience it all before I die.
Me too. Yeah. This has been a fascinating conversation, and our hour is up, but I cannot thank you enough for being on the show.
Thank you.
Like I said, I've always been a huge fan, and your voice is just so unique, but it's also so familiar. Do you know what I mean?
Thank you.
And I've just always loved it. And also your choice of songs has always been one of your best traits as a musician. Like, you know what songs to sing that fit you.
I've always done my due diligence.
Yeah.
Obsessive compulsive is what they call it.
Yeah.
Do you ever, when you were listening to songs, you ever go through a burn factor phase where you want to listen to it until see how long it takes you to burn out on it when you're looking for stuff for an album?
Yes.
That's been my biggest thing. Lots of repetition. Listen to it over and over and over. Condense down. When you burn out, kick it out. Condense down, kick out what you burn out on. And by the time you get to where you're ready to cut that record, you've pretty much got it massaged into shape.
Totally. Yeah. If it's, well, I try to write most of my own, but if there's that list of songs, anything that I'm not really looking forward to hearing, it's gone.
Yeah.
But you've always been brilliant at that.
Thank you.
So
will you do my podcast sometime?
I would love to.
Do my podcast. So we're going to start back up latter part of February. We just finished our last taping for the year too, so we'll have to get with you.
I would absolutely.
We do mine
love
on the
to.
bus.
Oh my God, I love that.
It's called TL's Roadhouse, so we do everything in the front lounge of my coach. So it's got its own charm to it.
Yes.
Cool.
I'm there.
Awesome.
I'm there. And my birthday's February 5th. So when I come to do your podcast.
Super Bowl weekend.
I will need, yes. I'll probably need like some more injection.
Okay, we'll take care of that.
Also, I'll do a review of it and I'll post it.
Please do.
Yeah, because we'll use it for our Thanksgiving meal.
Thank you. I look so far to this, and I'm glad we got to sit down and visit.
Me too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.